Begins tonight. Colts, Titans, major AFC South implications. If the Colts win, they'd be tied with Tennessee atop the division. So a big one on Thursday Night Football. Then this weekend, the Eagles looking to extend their win streak against the Giants to 9. Daniel Jones has lost 16 straight against teams other than Washington. Josh Allen and Kyler Murray. What a game this could be. They go head-to-head in Arizona. Both quarterbacks have thrown at least 15 touchdowns this year and run for 5 more. Cam Newton, Ravens, Patriots. Lamar Jackson taking on Cam. Lamar 25-5 in his career as the starter during the regular season. Yesterday, Lamar Jackson addressing some of the issues ailing that Ravens offense. Listen.
We're going against defenses. They calling out our plays, stuff like that. Like, they know what we're doing. So a lot of that, sometimes, stuff won't go our way if they beat us to the punch.
So you're hearing on the other side of the line of scrimmage the defense calling out your plays? That's what
they definitely do. Like runs, stuff like that. Watch out for this, watch out for that. Sometimes that's what's going on.
So those of us who did not play football, particularly on the defensive side of the ball, wondered just how common is that? The good news is I have 2 guys who play defense to answer that question. Dominique, just how common is it that defensive players will be calling out the plays before the ball is snapped?
Well, I was saying, watch out for this, watch out for that. Like, that's your job. Like, we look up tendencies all week. We study all week to be able to prepare when we see certain formations at certain places on the field, certain times in the game. It's important for the offenses to know that we're doing that also and change it up and flip their tendencies so they don't catch us. I think what Lamar is saying is that they aren't doing that. It seems to be that Lamar is making somewhat of a public criticism of the coaching staff to say that they know what we're doing and we're not adjusting. And I guess the stats would suggest that he is right because they haven't lost all that much. I know they lost their tackle last week and they lost Hall of Fame guard Marshall Yonda, but the way that their offense has declined, I don't think is commensurate with those losses. So I think he's suggesting that they aren't as prepared for these games as the defenses that they're going against.
Again, Lewis, so you played on the defensive side of the ball as well. If the defense is calling out the plays and they're right a great percentage of the time, what does that mean? What is the issue there for Baltimore?
Well, it just means, Greeny, that they have some tendencies. And, when I went back and looked at some of my notes and some of my film study before they played the Chiefs on Monday night, by personnel grouping, they definitely have some tendencies, and they have some people that are indicators for them up front as to where they're trying to run the football. Because, look, all teams try to run the football behind their best blockers, and they have some guys who are much better blockers, both on the offensive line and at tight end, than other guys. And so you can, from a defensive perspective, you're going to be keying on those certain individuals and saying, look, on these down and distances, we're going to make sure that we are ready to go right here at the point of attack. And there are some definite tendencies there. As far as the passing game is concerned, look, they're just limited in what they can do as far as attacking the entire width of the field. They try to attack you between the numbers. So when it comes to certain situations, if I'm a safety, I'm telling the corners, hey, look, a lot of times you're going to be on your own because we're trying to pack this middle of the field here and make sure we take care of a guy like Mark Andrews in particular. So there's no question teams have kind of dialed into what they're trying to do, and they're going to have to change it up and be more diverse. Otherwise, it's going to be more of the same.
So, D. Wood, now you're on the offensive side, and you hear the guys across the ball, and they're calling out your plays, and they're right. What does that mean, and what do they need to do to get that right in Baltimore?
Well, Greeny, listen, the whole advantage of the offense is we know where we're going faster than the defensive guys. So if you take away the advantage of we know where we're going, now it's at best an even matchup, which takes away from the Ravens' rushing attack. I've always said when Lamar Jackson became the starter and the Baltimore Ravens went all in on Lamar Jackson, it was like playing a service academy. And Lewis and Dominique know what I'm talking about. You go playing traditional offenses week to week, and then all of a sudden you run against the Baltimore Ravens. And it's just like, whoa. But now people are starting to look at this offense, and they're starting to key in on little things. And both Neek and Lewis talked about it. Once you start keying in and you're not changing up personnel groupings and all those things that go along with it, people start to get a beat on you, and that little bit can take away from your efficiency as an offense.
So the bottom line of it is this, Dominique. It's a simple question. We know they can win a lot of games. They've won a lot of games. Do they need to diversify their offense? This just feels like another statement. Do they need to diversify their offense if they're going to do what they ultimately want to do, which is win a championship?
Yeah, I think they absolutely do need to diversify their offense, and I think the ways to do that is to give Lamar a little bit more flexibility at the line of scrimmage. Because if you come out there and you're planning to run the ball, but you see that the box is loaded, having some other option for Lamar to go to in a passing situation would help them a lot. It's not that they necessarily need to put in a bunch of new, fancy, different trick plays, but they need to do what the defense is not expecting. And if the defense is expecting them to run on first down, then they need to give Lamar the flexibility to change it to a pass. Or if they are in some sort of too deep situation, then he can go back to the run. It appears that they don't have the personnel to just do what they do and be better than everybody they face, which is what they did last year. They're like, we're running this. No matter whether the box is loaded or not, we're going to run this play, and you can't stop it because we are that much better than you at doing this. That day is gone. They need to be a little bit more diverse and flexible at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, but bear in mind, this is a team that set all kinds of records for offense last year, and the record looks good, but the questions continue to pile up at the midway point of the season. Speaking of questions, this week on First Take, football legend Brett Favre said the Eagles should have stuck with Nick Foles over Carson Wentz after Foles led them to a Super Bowl title in 2017 and then led them to the playoffs the following year. Yesterday, the coach of the Eagles, Doug Peterson, a former teammate of Favre's, had this to say.
Carson's our guy. Carson's our draft pick. Carson's the guy that is going to carry us and lead this football team. And listen, everybody's entitled to their own opinion. Those aren't my words. Those aren't Howie's words, Jeffrey's words. Those are his words. I respect his opinion and his words. Those aren't mine. Please don't put words in my mouth or we're going to have a problem. And Carson's our guy. Bottom line, end of story.
He seems aggravated there, and just to be clear, when he says don't put words in my mouth, there have been people who speculated that his silence, it took him a day and a half to respond to Favre, as though he has to respond to Favre. People were interpreting that as though he was sort of supporting what Favre said. So, Lewis, what do you think? Brett Favre says what he says. Now Peterson has to respond. What's the story in your mind?
Look, this team is much different than it was when Nick Foles was there. It's a totally different composition, both on offense and defense and special teams. So to automatically now say because Carson is struggling that they should have stuck with Nick and things would be much different right now, I mean, quite honestly, I think that's ridiculous. I mean, there's plenty of people now who also think that since Nick has been in Jacksonville and now been in Chicago, that he isn't really that good and he's not even a starting quarterback. There's some people who think he needs to be benched right now because he was never a starting quarterback. So what does that take? So look, I mean, all this is right now is this is just kind of revisionist history because it's easy right now to just pile on Carson. And everyone knows Carson needs to play better. Everyone knows the hero ball stuff has to stop. Everyone knows that. Everyone also knows that his offensive line is decimated. He doesn't have the same receiving core, from week to week. And the defense, when you're talking about playing complementary football and winning football games, is nothing like it was during that Super Bowl run. They don't have the same kind of depth at all. And there has been a coaching drain on this football team to a certain degree, and you can debate whether or not that's having an effect also. There's so many things that are different from the time that Nick was there that it's like who cares anymore about what Nick would have done or if he would have been better. It doesn't even matter. All it is just talk. That's all it is.
That's clearly true, and yet the talk doesn't go away for whatever reason. And so, Damien Woody, again, I'm coming to you because before this season began, you made a bold prediction on this show that you thought that Wentz would get benched this year. That was at a time when other people were predicting he might be the MVP of the league. So you tell me, what's gone wrong for Carson Wentz this season?
Well, Greeny, listen, it's a combination of things. Obviously, Lewis spoke upon it. The personnel on offense is just drastically different, whether it be the offensive line, players missing on the offensive line, skill position players haven't been available to the quarterback, but also a big part of it is just the quarterback. Listen, no one can deny Carson Wentz's talent. We all see it on the field. But the fact that he goes out there and one play he makes a spectacular play, and then he'll follow it up with a couple plays, it's like, what the hell are you doing? The hero ball through, trying to run around. Actually, like Brett Favre, run around and trying to throw these crazy plays, and then it ends up in a bad mistake. You just can't do that, especially the amount of money that the Philadelphia Eagles are paying you. You just can't do that. And until he eliminates that, I'm sticking by. There's going to be people clamoring for the backup to come in at some point.
Yeah, and Jalen Hurts, remember, they drafted in the second round. But I'm glad he said that, Nee, because I was actually thinking it. If there was a quarterback that I would think Favre would like, it would be Carson Wentz, because he's certainly much more similar than Nick Foles is.
Yeah, but no one likes what they see when they look in the mirror. You're always annoyed by the person who acts like you. He's trying to take his place. So, yeah, I can understand why he will look at that and say, no, that's not the type of quarterback that I would want to bring in. But I got a bone to pick with Lewis because he just came in and took everything, all the good stuff. Frank Reich, they need to bring him back. He talked about the change on the roster. Like, I know Thanksgiving is coming up, but you can't take all the smorgasbord. You got to leave some analysis for me.
Hey,
Jeez, but I would say
Lewis is greedy.
I know Lewis is greedy. I would say that they made the right decision at the time when they made the decision, given the information that they had. And right now, it still seems like they made the right decision. Both of these quarterbacks right now are playing like bad quarterbacks. When you got two bad quarterbacks, you take the young bad quarterback because there's potential that he will get better.
Fair enough. Very quickly, Lewis, because they play in this ridiculously bad division, they likely will make the playoffs this year. In your opinion, do they have the right guy? I mean, in Philadelphia, long term, will they be building around Carson Wentz as they rebuild this thing wherever it is it goes into the future? If you were there, would you be doing it?
As I'm sitting here right now, yeah, I think they do. Now, that is subject to change, and there is no question that Carson needs